Hello everyone, this is Anisha Ansari. I am studying in 10th standard at I Teach PCMC schools. Welcome to the second episode of Changemakers, a podcast project by the Student Council of I Teach PCMC. Today we will be hosting Shubha ma'am from Jeevitnadi organization, a group which works to revive and rejuvenate the rivers of Pune. Student leaders Ashim Ansari, Kashish and Jishan will be hosting our guest Shubha ma'am today.
Where is your school?
It's in Bosri, I Teach PCMC. It's a low-income private school run by an NGO. So we have grades in 8, 9, and 10.
There's a group of alumni from Ecological Society where we took the course and they started this organization. So a lot of volunteers are from the alumni of the Ecological Society. So what do we do? Okay, river rejuvenation. River rejuvenation means reviving the river. Okay, now do you see this river? Do you think it's alive? Why?
Because it is not flowing like past flow.
Do you know the past flow?
Yes.
मालूम है?
Yes.
कैसा
I know.
था?
The water was more and the space was large.
Okay, what else? Point taken. Anything else you see
Water
different?
is not nice.
So now a big thing in the urban meaning in the town, what we see with rivers is that there is a lot of sewage जो हम घर पे use करते हैं. Okay, all that sewage gets directly thrown into the river. Okay, so now if you're seeing here the river is actually black. तो river का खुद का flow नहीं है इसमें. This is a black river because black में sewage है. But actually, in the last 3 weeks, we've actually got the corporation to increase the width. ये इससे भी छोटा था. Let's now see where we are. Okay. Okay. Now this is the bridge that you were standing on, where we waited. Okay. So this river is Ram Nadi. ये जो तुम देख रहे हो, that is Ram Nadi river.
Yes.
And as we go down, we'll see one of the big rivers of Pune, which is the Mula river.
Yes.
I'm going to see.
Didi, why you choosing only this river?
Good question. Now Jeevitnadi has a concept called adopt a stretch. Okay, so what we tell is even you can adopt a stretch of the river. तो आप जहाँ पे रहते हो और आपका जहाँ पे स्कूल है उसके पास अगर नदी है, you adopt that stretch. So 1 hour a week, at least minimum 1 hour a week in this place, and do whatever is necessary to conserve this place. So now we are a group of around 100 volunteers आते जाते रहते हैं, but we come here every river stretch. अभी क्या होता है, whenever I tell you water, okay, where does water come? Water comes from the tap. We have forgotten that water actually comes to us from the rivers, right?
Yes.
So now we have to try to get the connection back, people ka connection back to the rivers. That's what Jeevitnadi is trying to do. We'll start our walk. We will walk by the Ram Nadi bank. Okay, then we will reach the confluence as I showed you, जहाँ पे दोनों नदियाँ मिलती हैं, and then we will come back on Mula bank. तो जहाँ पे नदी आती है, so the birds, the trees, everything around the river are different from a forest. Tell me, where does the river originate? River कैसे शुरू होता है? Ending
Because of rain.
because of rain. Okay, तो आंसर ऊपर से पानी आता है. Okay, so ये उगम है, मतलब start of the river. फिर सपाट मतलब flood plains और ultimately मुख और end of the river. Okay, what you said that rain. Okay, so when rains come, there are a lot of trees in the mountain. They act as sponges. Sponge मालूम है जो पानी लेता है, absorb करता है. So वो absorb करता है, मतलब पानी अंदर जाता है और वो माउंटेन्स के नीचे थोड़ा थोड़ा करके स्ट्रीम जाता है पानी. फिर वो स्ट्रीम सब एक साथ मिलके एक नदी होता है. This area, okay, where the river is, that whole area is called a watershed area. What is it called? Watershed area. मतलब उस एरिया में पूरा नीचे पानी रहेगा. Okay? So now Ram Nadi ka watershed area is 55 kilometers. That is huge. The turn ko meander bolte हैं and it is very very important for a river. Right? Why? Because there are two banks of a river. Okay? So the outer bank is called a cut bank. The inner side is called a point bar. Point bar में हमेशा deposition होता है. Cut bank में हमेशा erosion होता है. Both of these are very 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 important steps. और हम लोग शहर में क्या करते हैं कि रिवर को सीधा बना देते हैं. So we are losing all the properties of the river. This very important property of the river is carrying nutrients. When we make it a straight line, we are losing that property of the river. Ashim has asked me whether we have tried planting trees here. So I'll have Shailaja ma'am answer that.
Yes. Okay. This is called as a riparian zone. The riparian zone is a forest which any freshwater body creates. Which is this forest is very very specific to the freshwater body. The trees, the species which grow here are very specific. You cannot plant them, nor you can create a sapling out of it. We should not ideally plant anything here, but we should protect and allow whatever the species are there to regenerate. All our rivers which are flowing through Pune, but they are not flowing through Pune city. Why I am saying that they are not flowing through Pune city?
Because they are originating here.
No, they have come before we got settled. So we have settled along the river banks. Rivers are not flowing through the city. All rivers originate from the spring. It is not a surface water. It is always a groundwater, which is a source region of any river. Any river you take, because surface water, particularly in Western Ghats or any other our region, except Himalayas, we have monsoon-fed rivers. After 4 months, the rivers will become dry, rest of the 8 months. So whatever water gets accumulated into the stomach of that mountain starts coming out when the stomach is full. And that is called as the origin of the river. Exactly at the river bank, which is grouping branches. In very common language, it can be said as an Indian willow tree. It's a willow tree. And why it is these type of trees you will find only along the river banks. You cannot plant them. You cannot create a sapling. Only river can create this tree. And what is the importance? Because as I told you that it's the ecosystem of the river which brings something from the mountains, drops it down, and these trees grow. These are riparian trees. So the root system of this tree is very specific, where the fishes and the birds lay eggs because they get protected. The other birds like kingfisher, the name itself is in that. The bird must be eating fish. He likes to sit on those drooping branches so that he can dive into the water when he sees the fish. So how the tree is used by the other life beings is very very important, and that's why we should not disturb the ecosystem of the river, because the system has created the whole food chain and the life chain around it.
Here you see the trees that the river has brought on its own, but here if you see, these are planted trees.
Planted trees. All these are planted.
Okay. Now the place that we are, all this gets immersed in the water during monsoon. We cannot enter this space because it's full of water.
From July to October, it is full of water.
So this river that you're seeing becomes huge. It swells and it takes up all this area.
All this area.
And after the rains, it recedes. And nothing changes here. Meaning, this area is supposed to, it has the feature of absorbing that kind of water, that kind of force, that whatever the river brings, it has the capacity. These trees, these shrubs, even if you will see on the other bank, there are small shrubs. You know what a shrub is?
Yes, small plants.
Small plants. But they also do not die during this monsoon, during this, when this river swells up.
Swells.
Why? Because it is a natural phenomenon. These plants are supposed to be there by the river bank. Force of the river is so strong that it can break any concrete wall. And that is why we are seeing all these cases of flooding. Ambiloda jo abhi hua 2019 mein, the river just broke. It doesn't see, concrete has nothing compared to the river's force. So agar you are bringing the river, you are constricting it, making it a small piece. When it needs space, it will break everything that is around it. And that is what we call a disaster. But it is not a disaster. What we are interpreting is because we are taking in her space. We are getting into her house. So this space that you are seeing, now this is 2 river banks, one of this and that side Mula. Idhar kuch bhi nahi hota. And because of this space, we don't get a flood because we are staying there.
It's working as a sponge here.
It is protecting us. Now, normally when people do development plans, they do not realize. उनको इधर road बना सकते, इधर building बना सकते, कुछ नहीं हो रहा है.
They don't know the future.
They do not know that what the water actually, how it works. Sewage treatment plant.
Which one?
Sewage treatment plant. Does that word make any sense?
Observing dirty water.
So STP or sewage treatment plant is basically these plants are made now in urban spaces, in urban cities, to clean the sewage that we humans are creating. Some years back we didn't have these sewage treatment plants, so everything that was sewage that was released was directly released into the river. So now what they do is, the idea is really good, that the sewage from every society or every locality is directed through these sewage pipes and they are brought to one sewage treatment plant. And there they chemically treat the sewage and they release the sewage after treated into the river. So ideally it is supposed to be treated water, but sadly there is no chemicals which have been found which can treat this sewage 100%. So only 60% of the sewage is treated, and also the capacity of these sewage treatment plants are not so much that all the sewage that is brought gets treated. So there is a small part which is treated and sent out, and there is some part which is not treated. So ultimately there is untreated water which is entering the river. And the other thing is, sewage treatment plants in this case is built very close to the end of the river, end of Ram Mula. And when you release water, it increases the velocity of the river, which ideally should not happen. Because when the river is in its last stage, when it is reaching a confluence of another river or the ocean, the speed of the river naturally reduces because it's carrying all its nutrients and slowly bringing it to the next river. So when you have these sewage treatment plants at such ideal critical places near the end of the river, you are actually reversing the whole biology, whole ecosystem of a river, end of the river. Okay? And now there is a new thing of the river front development, okay, where they are trying to make the river front places very fashionable. Like they're going to have concrete ghats, they're going to, as we said, they're going to streamline rivers into straight lines, like how they have done in Sabarmati. But what we are trying to tell them is, do not do that. Leave it as close to nature as possible. Okay? And for that, what we are asking them is, instead of first making these riverfront structures, what we do is use that money to clean the water first, because anyways the sewage treatment plants are not enough. So that is our ask.
So as you tell us a problem, there is a problem that of sand mine. Can you please elaborate?
Sand mining, yeah. So this case happened in 2020, just during COVID. So we stopped coming because there was all the lockdown and everything. So we were not regularly coming here. But one night there was some resident in Spires who saw JCBs entering the space at 1 o'clock in the night. And we all came down, we had a police case, we caught the JCB, and we realized inside at the confluence they were sand mining. This is a very big illegal trade that happens on most of the rivers in India. There is a particular amount which is allowed by the government because there is no way they can stop it, but when it goes into huge amounts, it is actually affecting, because it's taking away all the nutrients of the river. Okay? It usually happens at the end of the river, again as I said, because the nutrients are high. And what they do is they actually sieve it. So usme se sand comes down. Okay, and that sand is used for constructions because that comes free. So I think around 3 to 4 crores of sand must have been mined from this place during that time. So we had a case, we did all that, we wrote letters, nothing much happened. One letter got sent, we also sent to NGT. NGT is National Green Tribunal. It is based in Delhi. We sent a letter there, and to our surprise, they issued a case sumoto. Sumoto matlab apne aap. So we didn't raise a case. NGT raised a case on our behalf. So we were 4 of us who signed that. They raised a case on our behalf against the PMC and the pollution control and told them that you have to bring this back. So usually when such cases come, what they do is they charge a fine to the municipality. They say abhi itna fine bharo aur khatam karo. We said we do not want any fine. We want the river brought back to the state it was. So we formed a committee. Okay, a committee called River Rejuvenation Committee, and we are asking them to bring the river back restore it to its original beauty. And that is why what you saw that some of these things were being dug up is part of that work.
And while we're walking, you show us 2, 3, 4 birds images, and we also saw what are their names and how they work. Can you give an example of that?
Okay. So this space, as I told you, is a riparian zone, okay, which is very specific to a river bank. So the trees and species of birds are very specific to this. So abhi idhar jo trees hai or udhar jo birds hai, you do not see in a regular forest. Okay, so you will see birds, as you said, you saw an ibis which had a long beak. So it is very specific because they have to pick their food from the river. You saw some Brahmani ducks, okay, the brown color ducks that we saw. Again, very specific to a flowing water. So all these species, and to support them, the trees, because most of the trees that you saw here had drooping branches, because these birds need such spaces where they can keep their nests. Okay, and they go because they need water and land. They cannot survive only on land. So that's why the branches are close to the water. So this whole ecosystem supports one another. तो हम अभी बोलते, if a normal person comes and says ये पेड़ काट दो, उसके बजाय तुम 5 और पेड़ डाल दो, but you might put some other plant here. And as Shailaja Tai said, we have been trying. अभी ये जो वालुन्स है, that we are trying to procreate, मतलब we are trying to mix it. All the valuns here are male species. So we are trying to get a female, but we have not been able to do it at our house or in a laboratory. So more we spend time here, we understand how unique this space is. There are so many things that we don't understand. Why that plant doesn't come in our house, I don't know. There is something in this ecosystem which is needed, which we are not providing in a house. Okay, so very specific plant species, flora, fauna species that is here, and it needs this ecosystem to survive. तो तुम एक निकाल के उसके बजाय कुछ और डाल नहीं सकते. By creating awareness, I think that is the first thing. आधे से ज़्यादा लोगों को मालूम ही नहीं है, क्योंकि we have been not exposed to this kind of things in our education system. Even before I did that ecological society course, I didn't know what all I was doing wrong, how much nature contributed to me, to the world. Then I started changing my whole lifestyle. I stopped the business that I was doing. Everything started changing because I wanted to be in line with what I had learned. So first is education, and second is also teaching people who make decisions. जैसे एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर, PMC के लोग रहते हैं या कॉन्ट्रैक्टर रहते हैं, उनको मालूम नहीं, क्योंकि वो उनको पावर्स है. उनको आके अभी वो जो कर रहा था, मैंने जाके पूछा ना वो क्या कर रहा है. JCB लाया था जब हम आए थे अंदर, तो JCB लाया. मैंने जाके पूछा कौन हो तुम, क्या कर रहे हो, कुछ इलीगल कर रहे हो. तो मैं फ़ोटो निकाल के भेजती हूँ PMC को, वार्ड ऑफिस में भेज देती हूँ मैं, ये क्या चालू है. अगर कल आप देखोगे इधर JCB अंदर आता है और वो खुद खोद रहा है, तो क्या करोगे आप, कैसे रोकोगे.
उसको पहले पूछेंगे कि क्या कर रहे हैं. लीगल रहेगा तो कोर्ट में जाना पड़ेगा.
तुम जाओगे कोर्ट,
हाँ अगर इतना नेचर से लगाव रहा तो
तो तुम अपने हिसाब से करो, फोटो निकालो, पीएमसी के वेबसाइट पे डालो। अभी डिजिटल हो गया है, बट डू दो स्मॉल थिंग, डोंट लुक एट फाइटिंग द होल थिंग। कोर्ट में हम लोग नहीं जा सकते, ओके, हमारा नहीं है इतना बाइंडिंग, बट हम फोटो निकाल के पीएमसी के वेबसाइट पे कंप्लेंट कर सकते हैं, उतना तो करो। और उनको अभी मैंडेटरी है हर कंप्लेंट को उनको रिस्पॉन्स देना, दे हैव टू डू इट बिकॉज दे हैव बिकम सो ट्रांसपेरेंट, ओके। सो इंस्टेड ऑफ गोइंग अ ब्लाइंड आई, उधर कुछ हो रहा है, मेरा नहीं है संबंध, चलो छोड़ो, दैट शुड नॉट बी द एटीट्यूड, बिकॉज वी हैव पास दैट, बहुत देर हो गया है। ये अभी सब क्लाइमेट चेंज, सब फ्लडिंग, सब आ गया है, and you will all live with this. Our life is also getting over another 20-30 years, but your future is going to be in danger if all this continues. Okay,
Is this one close or you have another place to have it?
so we have, this is one of our stretches, the other one is in Aun, Rajiv Gandhi bridge, but that is a different stretch, that is a ghat, उधर एक टेम्पल है, विट्ठल टेम्पल है, तो उधर प्राइमरीली हम लोग साफ सफाई करते हैं और कंपोस्टिंग करते हैं, क्योंकि टेम्पल में क्या होता है कि बहुत सा निर्माल्य आता है एज कचरा, तो कचरा मैं बोल रही हूँ, लेकिन वो श्रद्धा से आता है, सो पीपल से कि वो नदी में जाना चाहिए, बट नदी का नहीं है अभी ताकत, इतना हेल्थी नहीं है कि वो निर्माल्य भी एब्जॉर्ब करे। सो व्हाट वी टेल देम, इंस्टेड ऑफ पुटिंग इन द नदी, पुट इन अ कंपोस्ट पिट, तो हमने कंपोस्ट पिट डाला है इन द टेम्पल। सो उधर कंपोस्ट पिट करो, उसको खत बनाओ, फिर उसको नदी पात्र में डालो, क्योंकि वो अल्टीमेटली झाड़ों को जाता है नदी पात्र। So that's the kind of education. So as I said, every stretch we do what is required in that stretch. Okay? कि आप जो कर रहे हैं वो सही है और हमें आपसे सीखने का है, आप हमसे नहीं। Okay, so you have to feel proud at these things. Now, you should not always feel proud if someone has a huge house. He is wasting so much of energy. He is wasting so much of resources. सो ये पर्सपेक्टिव जो है ना, जब बड़ा, सब आलीशान, सब ये वो गलत है। अभी वर्ल्ड अर्थ विल नॉट रिमेन इफ वी ऑल ट्राई टू बी अमेरिका। इफ इंडिया ट्राइज टू बिकम अमेरिका, यू नीड 5 अर्थ्स टू satisfy the needs of India, because our population is so much. So we actually need to rethink and see how we are living sustainably. Sustainably मतलब सब जाके वापस अर्थ में आना चाहिए और निकलना चाहिए, दैट इज सस्टेनेबल लिविंग, सर्कुलर लिविंग।
So now we will have some game called Never Have I Ever.
Okay.
So basically I will ask some questions. If you had that incident or you agree with that, you should give thumbs up. If you don't, then you will give thumbs down.
Okay.
So first, never have I ever broken a bone during one such a river walk or nature walk. Never have I ever hosted a celebrity in this.
No, I have.
Never have I ever questioned the impact this project is creating.
No, I have questioned. I always question myself if what I'm doing is right, if it's creating an impact, if it's making a difference, and if not, I talk to people who are experienced and try to make it as effective.
What is the benefit asking to self?
Then whom to ask? You know yourself best, right?
Yes.
You have to always ask yourself if what you're doing is right or wrong. Others might tell you their opinion, but you know what you are doing. Right?
Never have I ever hosted an individual from whom I learned more than I imagined about the nature of Pune.
I have hosted a lot of people whom I have learned a lot about. Some of them include one very prominent person. He is called Kulkarni. He is an environmentalist. I would request all of you to go back and read about him. He has a lot of TED Talks, and he lives a very sustainable and eco-friendly life in a gaon called Kudavle, in a village called Kudavle, for the past 28 years. And he has come and done his workshop here, where he talks about, and his lifestyle is his example. So I have met a lot of such people, and through this ecological society course, that has opened my, because in our regular life we don't come across such people, but through this course it has opened a big window to me of people, extraordinary people who have lived their life and whom you call, Guru Tulya, like you can look up to and learn from. So, and this space has obviously given me that opportunity.
Yes, sir. Never have I ever had dreams of conducting a nature walk.
Oh, I've always had dreams of conducting a nature walk to a lot of people, yeah. And it was my dream to, have this nature walk because I wanted to connect. And I would proudly say that at least we have connected to around
From this
6,000 to
connection-
7,000 kids and people. We started this first nature walk in 2019. Until now, at least we would have reached over 7,000 people through this nature.
Do you think that this nature walk impact on us and others?
Yes, it has affected me. So I would think yes, and I believe in positivity. So if I don't think I don't feel bad about things. I always feel yes, it will happen. So that's what keeps me going.
Next, never have I ever received a question from a person that had me in flips.
It had me not laughing, but there is one thing which intrigued me a lot. In one of the walks that we did for school kids, I had asked the kids when they were walking, one of the very premium schools here, when they started walking, if they recognize any of the trees. And all the tree that they knew was coconut tree, and there is no coconut tree here. So they kept asking me, "इधर coconut tree नहीं है?" बोला नहीं है तो ढूंढो कुछ और आपको मिल रहा है. But they didn't find anything, and they came back and we did a clean up. So they actually cleansed the place, and there were a lot of beer bottles. And these children knew the names of all those beer brands. Okay, and that made me feel sad. I laughed at that moment, but I felt sad that today's kids do not know the names of trees, but know the names of the beer brands. Okay, so that's where we are. That is our reality, and that's a very sad reality. So, and that made me all the more, think of getting as many more children as possible.
Did you tell them child to remember the name of trees?
Yes, and we told them the trees, and I hope that next time they would come, they would remember the name of the trees.
So, never have I ever self-taught preparing for such a nature walk because of the group that I was hosting.
Yeah, I always prepare before doing any walk. Even today I have prepared. Though I know the walk by heart, I have written the walk, but still I prepare because I always, I don't know, the kind of kids will come, the questions they will ask, and I always like to be prepared. So every time there is a walk, I do prepare.
One question. Did your preparation is same like you do previous time?
Probably not, yeah. And every time if there is a new question that you ask that I may not know, then I prepare that more the next time. So every time I learn from this nature. Yeah.
Last one. Never have I ever seen a negative feedback after such a nature walk.
See, negativity usually doesn't affect me because I try to find something positive in that. So yes, there are a lot of times when we have PMC employees who come and they say that idhar kuch nahi ho sakta, but we still try. And one positive thing is the engineer who is now working with us on the sand mining case, he has told me that because of you in this last 14 years, this is the first work that I have done that has made me feel good about my job. Okay, so these are very nice things which I think takes me ahead. So even if there are negative things, I always keep remembering these things which somehow makes an impact.
Positive in your life.
Keeps going, yeah. So you forget the negative things and concentrate on the positive.
I love that it's affecting someone else.
Yes.
Any point of time, like, have you got bored of this place? Like, it's
Why?
I don't know. It has never bored me, and see, there are some things which you are meant to do, right? So once you start doing that, you don't get bored. So once you know that is what you're supposed to do, then boredom has no place in that. And that's what keeps you going. So we all work here as volunteers. We don't get paid for it, but still I don't get bored. So that has something to say with what you're doing is right.
Okay. You chosen your job because of your dream, or it was?
So I was having a business before. I used to home deliver organic vegetables, and somehow I started feeling that the business, though I have done my BBA, then my MBA. I'm always, education has been in the business field. Somewhere I felt business is not what I'm good at, because I really don't know to make money out of things. It's not my cup of tea. So I stopped the business model. I still work with farmers, but I have stopped the business model, and this is something that gives me a lot of positivity, a lot of satisfaction, and so I keep doing that.
And if you give rights to clean all the jungles in world, what would you clean?
Yes, and I would take everyone along with me and have them clean it.
I wish I would.
Same thing.
Like, what's your motivation behind it? Like, as a child, if you ever thought that Subha in future would be doing this kind of work, would a young Subha even think of the work that you're doing right now? Like,
I don't know. I think it has grown onto me as a child, and I was never exposed to things like this. But I think there is an inner calling, and some things just happen when the time is right. I don't know why out of the blue I did that ecological society course, but that was a life-changing course for me, and I've changed my whole lifestyle after that. And as a child I wanted to become an auto rickshaw driver because I could see the whole world. I could drive around. That was so somewhere seeing new things was there, but I think it has grown, and it's not some dream that I'm living. It's just growing onto me. And I just feel satisfied that I'm doing something meaningful, and I think this is the call of today. I mean, whatever you say, environment is a very big thing that everyone needs to include in their thought process. It is not something that's going to last, and we always, when we were growing, probably climate change was something in the future. It is no more in the future. Okay, everything is getting scarce. You're seeing hailstorms in places where it doesn't rain. So everything is going haywire. So it's high time people start taking action, and each one can make a difference. So it's just time you start looking at yourself and taking that small step. I mean, I would just say that it is nothing big. You don't have to go change the world. You have to just change yourself till your world starts changing.
What tips you would like to give to youngsters and child to protect nature?
I think first is go spend time with nature. Okay. Second is try to make friends other than human beings. So it could be any species. Try to spend time with them. And third is make nature part of your life. So don't keep it as something which is outdoors, which is something only for recreation. Make it part of your life. Make it part of who you are. Okay, then you start thinking about it. अभी क्या होता है कि अगर हम कचरा घर से बाहर फेंकते हैं तो हमें we think that is our responsibility is over, but your responsibility is not over, because that is going to the landfill. That is not getting कुछ landfill 15-16 feet ऊपर हो गया है, and that they are burning and it is ultimately coming to you. So make it a part of you. Then you start thinking how it will affect me, how I can make a change. So that connection has to be very personal. And if you come and spend time like this in a space like this, you will start connecting with this. Instead of spending time in front of your phone, in front of the computer, idhar aake tum raho, you'll start seeing there is a pair of hornbills. Jodi hai hornbills ka, jo they keep roaming around here. Okay, then you start observing. You observe other things, like you go to a mall and observe, like that you start observing nature. And I will truly tell you, your life will start changing. You will make better decisions in life. So yes, that would be my 3 steps. What is in
Can you make out what it is?
Which fruit?
That? Yes. Is it? Marathi? If you know Marathi, you can speak in Marathi also. But I not know the name.
Kavit.
You don't know the name?
Kavit.
Kavat. Kadam is different. It has, it's yellow.
Ah.
No, this is wood apple.
what you call bale in Hindi, no?
Bale is again different.
Okay.
Bale also looks like this. Bale is more rounder
Okay.
and bigger. No, these also can become large. I was picking up on the way because see, you all can take it home.
चटनी बना
See, there is one, one there. Take all of it. Take it, and
बहुत
Hashim, you
कड़ू
can
रहता
take
है,
one
एक-
maybe.
it's like आंवला, very खट्टा. घर जाके उसमें गुड़, नमक और रेड चिली पाउडर डाल के अच्छी तरह से जैम बना के खाना.
Keep this notebook in your bag.